What's going on, people? It's Kilo, and we are back for another episode of the regular podcast on the regular network.
It's real.
And what's his name again? Kilo?
Shout out my Kilo, man. Kilo in the
What's going on?
building.
What's going on, y'all?
What have you done, sir? Nothing.
You know we're back. It's another week, second week of the year. How y'all feeling? I'm feeling all right, feeling smooth, feeling good. I'm tired, though. You understand? I had to work late last night, and I had to get up and do some more work. You know what I mean? I was doing that normal doze off thing. I don't know if y'all do that, but I do it. You know what I'm saying? Some of those, I do those. You know what I'm saying? That's my favorite sport, actually, is catching my head from hitting my chest. You understand? Please be sure to like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the video. Make sure you comment your thoughts below. Please hit the description box. Make sure you click on that link for the survey. Let me know what you like, what you're into, your size of your shirts. We're going to do some giveaways. My daughter told me I need to give out merch. I'm not going to lie. She really did say that. I told her I've been doing this a long time. I have given merch out, but she told me to do it again. So y'all be on the lookout for that. We're going to give out some more merch out here. Here's the regular network black tee. You know, if you're into that type of thing, we might give this out this time. Last time we gave the hoodies out, we might give the black tees out this time. How's everybody's week been? How's your week been? This is not one of those hot topic podcast episodes. We're not doing anything in the news. Let me look at my notes real quick. Let me make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, no, I'm not lying. We are not doing anything in the news. There is a video that I want to use from social media, but it's not news related. It's just a little demonstration of a theory, not a theory, but a concept that I want to discuss and make sure that we understand. I talked to my therapist about this a few weeks, like a month ago or something like that. He seemed to not have thought about it like that before, but we'll see. Now, it was one quick thing I wanted to talk about real quick before I even get into my real topics, right? A lot of times people will ask me, yo, why don't you talk more about your story, your background? You know, you can help a lot of people. You can help somebody. They might, you know, it's motivation, inspiration, aspiration, all these type of things, right? I'm going to be real. Some stuff, like I'll talk about, you heard me talk about some stuff from the past and all that, but a lot of stuff I don't speak about because the places that I want to go to, the people that I want to be around, like the type of people, not specific people, but the type of people I want to be around, I'm going to be honest, they're a little bit off-put by some of the things I've been around. I'll say I've been around, right? These people have different backgrounds than we have, right? Some of the people that listen to this are similar to me. They have different backgrounds than me and people like me, right? That's not to say my background is bad or you know, something to be ashamed of. It's just I don't want to be off-putting to people before I even get a chance to meet them, before they even get a chance to meet me. And I don't want it to ever come off like I'm trying to glamorize something. I don't want it to come off like I'm trying to glamorize something. I don't want my image to be that. I know a lot of people that come into the podcast space with backgrounds like ours, like you and I, y'all listening and me, people that come into this space with backgrounds like ours, that's like the first thing they talk about. That's what they want people to know about them. And I'm like, nah, what I want people to know about me is not that. And I don't even want them to think about that when they think about me. You see what I'm saying? So because of that, you know, I can get into stuff like that, background and everything like that way later when I'm in every room I want to be in, any space I want to be in, not using a gimmick. And I'm not knocking anybody that uses that gimmick, but that's just not me. And I don't want even when I was in and around that type of stuff, I was trying to get away from it. Or not that I was trying to, but I couldn't wait for my first opportunity to get away from it. That's why I ended up going to the military. And even in the military, I made some dumb decisions and I did some stupid stuff in the military, but I always wanted to be around the intelligent people. I wanted to be around the smarter people, the people that had more money, the people that had more resources, more access, just people that made good decisions. That's just what I wanted to be around always. You understand? Being around people that don't make good decisions, being one of the people that made bad decisions, there's nothing cool about that. So that's just what a lot of the stuff I was doing, you know, sometimes I talk about like we talked last week with Key Twan. Shout out to Key Twan for coming on the podcast. We talked about going to early college and excelling in the earlier years before I started getting off track a little bit. But that's the type of thing that you'll hear me bring up more. Like I was in college at age 14 and 15 and 16, stuff like that. You're going to hear me bring that up way more than anything else. Because this is what I want this is what I want to project out there. You know what I'm saying? If you don't think that that's cool, then cool. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to go to the next thing to be like, well, do you think this thing is cool? Like, nah, I was in college when I was 14. I think that's cool. To me, it's cool. You see what I'm saying? So, that's what I'm going to talk about more than anything else. I'm going to talk more about business and what I learned from the type of work I do over the last decade. I'm going to talk about that way more because that's cool to me. Business is cool to me. People making millions and billions of dollars. That's way cooler than this other stuff. Right? So, it's not just, I'm not running from people judging me or nothing like that. I just know that people will shut you out or shut you down if they know certain stuff about you. Right? They'll judge you. And we could tell people all the time, don't judge a book by its cover, but people are going to do it. If you already know that people are going to judge you from the beginning, from the gate, as they say, from the door, then you might have to keep some stuff close to the vest. You see what I'm saying? You might have to keep certain things close to the vest. Every story is not for a podcast. You know what I'm saying? We'll get into some of that stuff another time. But yeah, I wanted to get into something real quick that I think, people talk about it sometimes, but I wanted to give the real breakdown, right? The Android versus iPhone beef. Why? Like some people, some of us, we don't really engage in it too much. I might have engaged in it in the past just because it was fun and funny and all this type of stuff, just talking about features on phones and things like that. But a lot of people don't really remember where it came from. If you are my age, I'm in my mid 30s, right? If you're my age, you remember a time before Android was around, right? iPhone came out my senior year in high school, right? That's 2007, 2008. It was being released, like they were marketing it 2007. And it came out, I think it was available to purchase 2008, but it came out in my senior year of high school, right? The first iPhone. It looked pretty much just like an iPod Touch. This might seem old to some people because there's people who were born at this time that are now 18 years old. They're adults, which is crazy. But anyway, the first iPhone looked just like the iPod Touch, right? And it just like hit the scene and it went crazy in America, right? It was there's an app for that whole marketing campaign. You want to do this? There's an app for that. That was the whole thing. There was no Android at that time. And if it was around, if it existed, like technically if it was founded by then, Google didn't own it yet and it wasn't major, right? Excuse me. The biggest thing in phones at that time was Blackberries, okay? Blackberry was the biggest thing. So that Blackberry operating system on Motorola phones, I believe it was Motorola phones. Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Okay. Nokia was one of the bigger phone makers. Samsung was a big one. Sony was a big one, all this, but there was no Android yet. Right. So we know that iPhone Android beef didn't exist as long as cell phones existed. They didn't even exist as long as smartphones existed. Right. AT&T, every phone had their own operating system back in those days. Right. Then a couple years later, along comes Android. And there was a phone, the first one I think was called like Android. And remember, there was commercials, they were like Droid, this thing started popping up like, yo, there's this Droid thing coming out, right? So that came, but it wasn't a beef yet at that time. It wasn't a beef yet. Then somewhere along after 2010, 2011, you started to hear these rumblings of like, yo, there's Android is starting to be on all different types of phones now, right? It's not just on that one first Android phone. Now this operating system is starting to pop up in different places. So people, I was interested in the thing. I didn't have an iPhone back then. You know what I'm saying? I had a HTC Pure. That was Microsoft. I had a Microsoft operating system back there. Horrible. Microsoft has horrible operating systems on phones. Right? Terrible. It was even terrible back then. This shit was trash, but it had a lot of advanced features, but they just didn't work. They didn't work good, but they had a lot of advanced features. I'm talking about it was doing stuff back then. Like I don't even remember all of it, but it was doing stuff back then that no other phone on the market was doing, but it just didn't work the way it was supposed to, right? I couldn't wait to get rid of that HTC Pure, right? That was like 2010, I think, something like that, right? Smartphone is the whole big thing at that point. iPhone is killing in the American market. Then an app comes along, and I'm about to tell y'all, some people, y'all gonna think like, oh, this he just saying anything, he's saying it, whatever. I'm telling y'all, this is where the beef started. The beef started because of Instagram. Y'all hearing what I'm saying? iPhone versus Android beef started because of Instagram. Instagram being founded in 2010. The end of 2010 is when Instagram was founded. Right? Instagram, let me tell you the user count. Give me a second. Give me a second here. So Instagram originally released on iPhone, iOS first in October of 2010, right? In October of 2000, so then they hit their first, let me find that, excuse me. So in the first year, Instagram had 10 million users, monthly active users, right? So that's when they were only on iPhone. They had their first 10 million. It took a year to hit 10 million. Okay. There was no Android on the platform yet. The app was only for iPhone users, right? But as somebody that just got an Android right around that time, I think the phone was called like a Moto X or something like that. I just got an Android phone at that time. We was hearing about this Instagram app, but we couldn't get it, right? Only people that had the iPhone could get it. So it was like, yo, it was kind of how, like, if y'all remember like how Clubhouse was, where you start to hear about not the iPhone thing, but you started to hear about this Clubhouse thing bubbling up, like, what's going on? I'm hearing about this Clubhouse, but I can't get on it. You need an invite. It felt kind of like that back then. It was like, yo, they got this Instagram thing. Everybody posting pictures. They saying where they at right now. You know, Instagram was originally like a locator type of app. You would post a picture to show people where you was at right then at that moment. But anyway, so they, you know what I'm saying? We was hearing about it. We like, damn, they need to put this, you know what I'm saying? There was a lot of talk on Twitter at that time. Yo, they need to put this Instagram so we can all use it, right? So they got 10 million users after a year, you know, so in 2011, they got 10 million, but that's iPhone only. They released the phone. This phone gets released to Android. Give me a second. Because I want to show y'all the first picture that I posted. I actually still got it up. Or it's archived, but I'm going to just show it. Excuse me. Instagram release. So they have 10 million users after a year. So around October 2011, they have around 10 million users. They released Instagram to Android's platform, the Android marketplace, April 3rd, 2012, right? Now I'm a user at this time. So I make an account immediately. And here's my first picture. Let me show you. This is my first pic on Instagram. Y'all see that date? April 4th, the day after they released it for Android, I put a picture up, right? Pretty much immediately. Next day, April 4th, 2012. And you just by my caption, you can tell that I was waiting for this app, right? I said I'm gonna start it off with some motivation. I was waiting for this app. I didn't know what I was gonna post until I pretty much right when I posted it, but I was waiting for this app. Now, so when we get on the app, right, the first thing that happens, we get on the app and we're looking around to see what's going on, right? When I say we, I mean Android users, right? We get on this app and we see what's going on. So we like, okay, this is what y'all been doing on here. Okay, we see pictures. We see where you was at. Oh, you having a good time. Y'all using filters. Y'all using these things called filters that we had never been using before when we post images to social media. Instagram come with this filters thing. They was changing the game. And that was the reason, it was so much buzz around Instagram, is because these iPhone users would be taking pictures on excuse me, on Instagram, putting the filters on it, then they would add it to their other apps. And we were seeing these pictures with these filters that none of the rest of us could get. Right. So that was the big draw to Instagram at that time. Anyway, we get on there and we start seeing all these pictures. Right. So then as a new influx of Android users start to use start to use Instagram, what happened is iPhone users started to say, all of y'all pictures look trash. They look grainy. They look low quality. Android phones suck because y'all pictures suck. That's the beginning of the beef. The beginning of the beef is from Instagram getting an influx of Android users and iPhone users saying that our pictures looked bad or low quality. That's the beginning of it. April 2012, Instagram platform is the beginning of the iPhone Android beef. I'm going to tell you some numbers real quick. Right. So in America, Apple does a good job making it seem. So anyway, let me tell you again right here how much there's like a marketing delusion going on, right? Because they feel like this one phone is better than the other. This is where the explosion happened, right? So when it's only on iPhone, they have 10 million. Instagram has 10 million active users, right? Monthly active users. When it goes to Android, a year after it goes to Android, they hit 100 million active users, right? So by February 2013, which is really just 10 months, in 10 months after allowing Android users onto the platform, the thing grows 9x, right? So that just tells you how much Android has grown as a platform. Like there's Android phones, or there's phones with Android operating system all over the place now at this point, right? And a lot of people couldn't wait to get on Instagram, so that's what they did. One of the first things they did is download this thing, right? So now by February they got 100 million users, right? Now here's the marketing of iPhone. So it says February they have 100 million users. There's only 57 million iPhones out there total in 2013, like total number, right? But they're making you think that there's some type of, like there's a competition. There's almost double the amount of people on Instagram alone than people that have that type of phone. But in your mind, you're believing that iPhone is dominant or iOS is dominating everything, when in reality, they just have amazing marketing. Now, if we go to today, right, how many Instagram? There's 1.7 billion Instagram users today. iPhone users in the world, there are, hold on. Damn, there's a whole number here. Give me a second. There have been 232 million or around 250 million iPhones ever sold. Right? Wait, let me see. Wait. No, hold on. That's not true. Sold this, okay, so in the most, sorry, give me a second. So share of the let me give you share. Sorry. Okay, there's 1.3 billion iPhone users worldwide, right? 1.38 billion iPhone users worldwide. Android users worldwide, there are 4.2 billion, right? So in the minds of people, there's a competition between iPhone and Android phones, when in reality, like almost 4 times more people use Android than iPhone. It's just great marketing that Apple is doing. And it's being driven, the competition idea is being driven from that conversation that people was having way back then in 2012. Because it's not a competition anymore. It stopped being a competition a very long time ago, but just great marketing makes you feel like this is like a thing. You know what I'm saying? That 75% of the phone users on the planet, smartphone users on the planet, are using Android devices or phones with Android operating system, whereas like 24% are using iOS, right? So if you want to know why the conversations got idiotic, or you like, yo, this is an annoying conversation, why people talking about this, why people always talking about the cameras, it's because of Instagram. That's the reason. And Instagram is the most popular app on Android. With like the most popular. Hold on, let me see what it is. Yeah, it's the most popular app on the whole Android market. Now, let me see if I can. Excuse me. Damn, I had it up here somewhere. I'm trying to remember where it's at. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to get into that, man. I thought that was interesting. I saw something pop up not sometime this week where people was having that conversation again, right? Let me read this sentence real quick. Let me read this little paragraph. With an estimated 341 million total population in the United States in 2024, 43.86% or 149 million people are expected to use the Android OS. Meanwhile, 42.2% of the U.S. population are using iPhones. Google Android, and Apple iOS combined to take more than 99% market share in the mobile operating systems. BlackBerry OS, Windows, and other operating systems could not keep a mobile market presence, with Android and iOS continuing to dominate, not only in the U.S., but around the globe. So yeah, they took over. BlackBerry was a thing back when I was in high school, but it's no longer happening. There's nothing going on with that. I actually never had a BlackBerry phone, but it was like the biggest thing when I was growing up. If you had a BlackBerry back then, you had money. That's how we looked at it. If you had a BlackBerry or a Sidekick, but Sidekick, I never seen an adult with a Sidekick. It was them BlackBerries, man. Or like the Nextel, the Chirp joints. Never seen an adult flip that little Sidekick phone out, but I knew some kids with it though. But yeah, man, y'all, shout out to y'all, everybody who has ever joined in the reindeer games when it came to Android versus iOS. And keep in mind, it is not Apple versus Android. It's iOS versus Android. iPhone is a phone, it's a device. Android is not a device. If you want to compare Apple to Samsung, then you could do that. But yeah. Now, let me pull this video up real quick. I want y'all to look at this video right quick, right? Just watch I wish they would have moved the words off of there, but just watch the video. I just want you to see what's happening. Pretty much somebody dropped their hat and the people are throwing it back up. People are just throwing it back up, different levels and layers. See, it's just, look, one person throwing it up, one or two people help catch it, right? Everybody around is just kind of cheering them on, having a good old grand old time, right? That's what's going on here. Okay? Just watch. Where are we going with this? I feel like I'm in the old school regular podcast bag with this one, but I just love to make a point like this. Right? How many people would y'all say is in? Because they look like they're like in an arena or something, or some type of situation where they're all viewing the same thing, right? That looks like a parking garage or something like that. Oh yeah, so they're probably in a parking garage at an Astros parade. I'm reading the caption, right? So there's thousands of people out there, right? But it's like one person throwing a hat up to one or two other people, right? You see one person throw the hat up and then one person catch it, or maybe two people catch it, right? But there's thousands of people out there, right? And even when the hat is dropped, it still only takes one person to catch it and get the ball back rolling, get it thrown back up, a layer up, right? This is symbolic to me. Right? Why? What does it mean? This is something that I want the community, the black community, the black American community, to pay close attention to and learn something from. What can we learn from this? What we can learn from this is, when I see the conscious community, in different sectors of the conscious community. That's politically, the financial and business people. When I see the educators, when I see the military-minded people, and all these different type of people, and the religious people, the intellectuals, all of this, they spend so much time. We spend so much time arguing with each other about whose way is the right way, right? The political people are arguing with the financial and business people, telling them business is not going to get you there. The business people are telling them education is not going to get you there because you can't do anything without money. The educated people are telling you military is not going to get you there because you can't strategize because you don't know enough, right? The military people are saying you can't do anything if you can't protect your money. And everybody just sitting there arguing with each other about whose way is the right way. And nobody ends up doing anything because all of the time and resources are spent proving their argument is correct. When I see a video like that, you see that there are many, well, you can't see all the people, but there's thousands of people around, right? But it's taking maybe 10 to 20 people to get this task accomplished, right? I think that same thing needs to apply to any one of the missions and tasks that we have within our community, right? And I'm not going, we're not getting too specific here, but when we talk about tasks within a community, right, we want to say, we want to rebuild neighborhoods, right? We don't need Umar arguing with Yvette Carnell about how to get this neighborhood rebuilt, right? You do your part, or you do what you can with the group of people that you have and get as much accomplished with that group. If you have 500 followers, when I say followers, I mean not internet followers, but 500 people that will follow your lead and direction in real life, you can get so much accomplished with those 500 people. You do not need to go have these 500 people and go around recruiting until you get up to 10,000. You don't need that. You're about to spend so much time, money, and resources wasting just trying to get more people on your team, right? 500 people, you can build things, you can raise funds, you can sell things to raise funds, or you can just get donations. You can do so much with your 500 people. Instead of and a lot of times we worry so much about how many people are not doing what we think they should be doing that we don't end up getting anything accomplished. And I see this so often. And even when I see social media and I'm like, people are arguing about how many people are not doing this thing. If I see a post from, if I might see an Earn Your Leisure post where somebody is giving some good information on this Earn Your Leisure page, and it's a black person, and it's a black person telling other black people what they've been doing to help progress whatever the mission is. And so many people in the comments are focused on the fact that, man, see, but y'all was just fighting over Jordans, or y'all was just buying that Black Friday stuff, or y'all was just doing this for Christmas, spending all your Christmas money. And I'm just like, why is there so much focus on the people that are not doing the thing that we think should be done instead of just focusing on the few people that are getting the stuff done? If all of the onlookers would stop with this whole worrying about what people are not doing or the people who are not doing things, I think there would be so much more progress made. And it's not even a social media thing. People do that off the internet as well. It's like, even when I've been to meetings, that's why I don't really join organizations like that. Because when I go into these places, there's way more argument than planning and strategizing. I have yet to go somewhere and be around any group of people of any kind where there's not more arguing than strategizing and action. That's why a lot of these organizations don't last that long. It's because they never stick to the mission. It always becomes who's the leader? Why are we listening to that person? Who's raising the money? Why are they in control of the money? That person's direction and way does not make the most sense. It's way more of that. Everywhere I've been a lot of places. I've been around a lot of people. It's why I do not get in organizations. And that's not to knock organizations because everybody got I'm saying me. I can't sit around people that just won't start working. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not judging the people that won't start working. If y'all want to sit around and debate all day, that's fine. But when we have a mission, though, I can't be around you if that's what you plan on doing. I was so turned off when I went to the Trayvon Martin rally back when Trayvon Martin, when George Zimmerman beat his case, and there was rallies in Atlanta, and there was a big rally on the west side of Atlanta. Just, I don't even know what the purpose of it was after I went, but I'm thinking it's time to tear some shit up. You see what I'm saying? That's where I'm thinking people's energy was going to be at. But they get there, they on the bullhorn, you know what I'm saying, the megaphone and all that, screaming, yelling out these powerful words, quote unquote powerful words, right? And then it's like screaming, no justice, no peace. But then like everybody's walking in like a straight uniform line, following where the police tell them to walk at, down the street. It's like a parade. It was like a performative Black justice parade. It was very peaceful. They say no justice, no peace. Like, I don't know if modern people who call themselves activists know what that means. But anyway, that type of stuff right there. I went to the Anthony Hill when he was killed, the rally for him. I went to a Black Panthers rally. I went to meetings, and I just went to too many different things where I'm just like, I even went to a reparations meetup last year, and it turned into an all out, like the lady was trying to, the board member, one of the board members was trying to fight somebody at the reparations joint. I'm like, is everybody high? And I'm really trying to figure it out. I was like, is everybody on drugs? Or are these people put in these organizations to infiltrate and derail them? That's what it feels like every time to me. It feels like every time somebody is in there and their only purpose is to derail everybody else, because it always turns into the same exact thing, arguing and fighting about who should do what and who's right and who's wrong. Even with the reparations movement splintering along the ADOS and FBA lines, that should have never happened. But the inevitable happened. Somebody is a secret agent in here, right? It's everywhere, but somebody's a secret agent up in that whole movement, right? Somebody high up. I don't know who. I'm not gonna put their names on it, but somebody is working for the other side. You see what I'm saying? We only need a few people to get things accomplished. You do not need everybody. You don't even need half of the people. And this is not to say we need to model what white people are doing or have done, but I want to tell y'all, white nationalists in America, well, the deep ones, the deep American constitutionalist type people, they have this saying, this 3%. They got this 3% saying, because you know what they say? They say it took 3% of the white people here on the American side to defeat the British, right? They said it only took 3%. So that's what they look at it like. You only need 3% of the people on your side to get anything done, or to make any movement possible, or to enable revolution, right? Just 3%. On their side, they know that because they feel like they've accomplished it before, even though there was a lot of Black people that helped fight with that too. But they're not looking at it from they weren't looking at the Revolutionary War from a Black and white standpoint. They were looking at that from America versus Britain, right? But they took that on as like a white ideology, 3%. So if they feel like they ever need to go battle with the government, they think they only need 3% of their people to do it, right? And that's not to say we're supposed to go battle with the government, but I'm saying the mindset of this 3% thing. You don't even need 50% of people. It's impossible. If you think that you're going to get 100% of Black people, or even 50% of Black American people to get on the same page before you start making progress, then you have unrealistic expectations. There has never been a time in anywhere, in any place, at any time where 50% of the people agreed on what should happen at the direction of, or for the direction of the place that they live. That's never happened before. Yet there's this unrealistic expectation that Black Americans are all supposed to be thinking the same way and all supposed to be moving the same way. Right? That's not how it goes, man. We need a few people. The 5% teachings, I talked about it last week or the week before, a couple weeks ago, right? 5%. You got the 85%ers, the deaf, dumb, and blind. Then you got the 10%, the ones that know but don't teach. Then you got the 5%, the poor righteous teachers, right? That ideology says that it's just 5% of us is going to spread the knowledge around the nation, right? Just 5% of us. That's the sort of mindset. Like it's less than 10% is all you really need, man. And that's just throwing a number on it because really you don't need that many people. If we have thousands of people around this parade and we need to get a hat 5 stories up, 10 people helped. So if there's 1,000 people, 10 people help. We're talking about 1%, right? Do the math. We do not need that many people to get things accomplished, whatever it might be. Okay. That's what I got on that. I had to do that rant. I had to do that rant right there. Now, if we want to, because we're talking about black progress. We're talking about black mindsets, black psychology. I feel our community, Black American community, we have been duped out of billions and billions of dollars. Not just duped. I won't say duped because there was a lot of violence involved in removing us from this industry. But the way that I hear people talk about it now in 2026 and 25 and just modern time, it's almost as if we think the thing is bad. Now, here we go. Let's talk about cotton. Let's talk about cotton. If you thought this podcast was boring before, we about to talk about cotton. Okay? This is going to get even more boring right now because we're going to read. Okay? Cotton. I've seen videos go viral on social media where a black person goes into a cotton field and pick, because they want to see what it feels like. They go pick a piece of cotton out of a cotton plant. And people all over the place are like, yo, you a slave. You a coon. Why would you do that? You making the ancestors mad. You a disgrace. I'm like, So something happened along the lines where they tricked the collective consciousness of black Americans into thinking the cotton plant itself is bad. Something happened where they tricked the black American consciousness into thinking the plant is bad. The land that the plant is on, the plantation, is a bad place. They tricked us collectively. If we see cotton somewhere, like just a raw cotton plant, if we see it somewhere, we automatically assume, oh, must be some racist people around here. Why they got cotton plants up in here? Right? If we go to a housing development, like a subdivision or something like that, and it says something plantation, we automatically think, oh, some racist people must have made this. We associate cotton and the field itself with the people that forced us to work on the field. You know how they got this word association thing in psychology? We are not mentally, we can't decouple cotton from white people. We got to do that. We have to decouple cotton from white people. They don't go together. The evils of that group do not belong and are not associated with the plant itself. I don't know if we can fix this at this point, but I will say, let's do some reading. Let me pull this up real quick. Domestic production. We're going to look. This is modern day, like modern day. U.S. cotton is grown predominantly in 17 southern tiered cotton belt states, from Virginia to California. Cotton is planted from March to June. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Cotton is planted from March to June and harvested from August to December. Among the states, Texas is the largest producer, contributing approximately 40% of the U.S. cotton production in recent years. Other top cotton producers include Georgia, Mississippi, Arkansas. Within Texas, most production is concentrated in the High Plains region, as cotton is particularly suited for that area's climate. Okay. Just to give you a little idea of who's benefiting from it nowadays. Excuse me. Yeah, Texas took that thing over. But the history of it, you can't tell the history of the cotton industry without telling the history of Mississippi. I hope y'all don't mind me reading this because I'm about to read it. Okay? It's important stuff here. And this is not Wikipedia. This is Mississippi History Now. This website is, Mississippi History. So this is their history. And in order to really tell the history of this thing, you got to look at Mississippi. By the way, the state with the largest black, by percentage, the largest black population in America, of course. Because let's look at it now. Cotton in a global economy, Mississippi from 1800 to 1860. Let's look at this here. Okay. William Faulkner, Mississippi's most famous novelist, once said, "To understand the world, you have to understand a place like Mississippi." To the world, Mississippi was the epicenter of the cotton production phenomenon during the first half of the 19th century. The state was swept along by the global economic force created by its cotton production, the demand by cotton textile manufacturing in Europe, and New York's financial and commercial dealings. Mississippi did not exist in a vacuum, so in a sense, Faulkner's words could be reversed. To understand Mississippi, you have to understand the world. That's true. Mississippi's social and economic histories in early statehood were driven by cotton and slave labor, and the two became intertwined in America. Cotton was a labor-intensive business, and the large number of workers required to grow and harvest cotton came from slave labor until the end of the American Civil War. Cotton was dependent on slavery, and slavery was, to a large extent, dependent on cotton. After emancipation, African Americans were still identified with cotton production. The Slavery Compromise. This particular chapter of the story of slavery in the United States starts at the Constitutional Convention in 1787 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. When the delegates wrote and agreed upon the Constitution, cotton production was virtually non-existent in America. Do y'all hear that? So we have been in this country and seen as enslaved people in this country, some of us, for like 150 years by that point, really 200 years by that point, right? But they say when the Constitutional Convention hit, cotton production was pretty much nothing, right? Non-existent in America. The enslaved population in the United States was approximately 700,000 at the time of the signing of the Constitution. The slave states of South Carolina and Georgia were adamant about having slavery protected by the Constitution. Connecticut's Roger Sherman, one of the delegates who brokered the Slavery Compromise, assumed that the evil of slavery was dying out and would by degrees disappear. He also thought that it was best to let the individual states decide about the legality of slavery. Thus, the delegates faced the question, should there be a United States with slavery or no United States without slavery? The delegates chose a union with slavery. Soon after the signing of the Constitution, cotton unexpectedly intervened in the 1790s and changed the course of America's economic and racial future because of the simultaneous occurrence of two events: the mass production of textiles and the mass production of cotton. In the late 18th century, the process started in Great Britain with several inventions: the spinning jenny, Crompton's spinning mule, and Cartwright's power loom. Revolutionized the textile industry. The improvements allowed cotton fabrics to be mass-produced and therefore affordable to millions of people. The cotton gin. At the same time, Eli Whitney, a 28-year-old unemployed recent graduate of Yale University, journeyed to the South to become a tutor on a plantation. He soon became obsessed with the bottleneck in cotton production in his employer's Georgia plantation. In 1793, the fledgling mechanic soon found a solution to the problem of cleaning cotton and separation of the seed from the fiber. After a few months, he wrote the now famous letter to his father in which he described his discovery. I involuntarily happened to be thinking on the subject of cleaning cotton and struck out a plan of a machine. To remove the cotton seed, I concluded to relinquish my school and turn my attention to perfecting the machine. The machine was the cotton gin. Whitney gave up his career as a teacher to devote full time to manufacturing cotton gins and making money. Sadly for Whitney, the cotton gin generated no profits because other manufacturers copied his design without paying him fees. He had obtained a patent on the cotton gin, but it proved to be unenforceable. Whitney's priorities henceforth were money and manufacturing. Whitney never seemed, as one historian noted, to care about slavery one way or the other. Okay. Demand for cotton. Whitney is given credit for unleashing the explosion of American cotton production, which was, in turn, propelled by the seemingly insatiable appetite for cotton from the Britain cotton textile mills. A quick glance at the numbers shows what happened. American cotton production soared from 156,000 bales in 1800 to more than 4 million bales in 1860. A bale is a compressed bundle of cotton weighing about 400 to 500 pounds. This astonishing increase in supply did not cause a long-term decrease in the price of cotton. The cotton boom, however, was the main cause of the increased demand for enslaved labor. The number of enslaved individuals in America grew from 700,000 in 1790 to 4 million in 1860. So one slave per bale of cotton. Americans were well aware of the fact that the economic value placed on an enslaved person generally correlated to the price of cotton. Thus, the cotton economy controlled the density of enslaved Africans. By 1860, Great Britain, the world's most powerful country, had become the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. A significant part of the nation's industry was cotton textiles. Nearly 4 million of Britain's total population of 21 million were dependent on the cotton textile manufacturing. Nearly 40% of Britain's exports were cotton textiles. 75% of the cotton that supplied Britain's cotton mills came from the American South, and the labor that produced the cotton came from the enslaved. So the enslaved people picked 75% of all the cotton that the Britain textile mills handled. Because of British demand, cotton was vital to the American economy. The Nobel Prize-winning economist Douglas C. North stated that cotton was the main important proximate cause of expansion in the 19th century American economy. Cotton accounted for over half of all American exports during the first half of the 19th century. The cotton market supported America's ability to borrow money from abroad. It also fostered an enormous domestic trade in agricultural products from the West and manufactured goods from the East. In short, cotton helped tie the country together. Cotton and population. You see what's coming. From the time of its gaining statehood in 1817 to 1860, Mississippi became the most dynamic and largest cotton-producing state in America. The population and cotton production statistics tell a simple but significant story. The growth of Mississippi's population before its admission to statehood and afterwards is distinctly correlated to the rise of cotton production. The white population grew from 5,000 in 1800 to 350,000 in 1860. The enslaved population correspondingly expanded from 3,400 to 436,000 in 1860. Now, that means the enslaved population outnumbered the white population by like 80,000, right? My family is from Mississippi. Well, part of my family is from Mississippi. A large part of my family is from Mississippi. We had our own plantation. We still have the land right now, like 300 or 400 acres, something like that in Mississippi. Mississippi was where you should be at that time if you was a player. You know what I'm saying? You know how people like at different times, it's like, oh, if you in New York, you a player, or if you in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, you a player in the game. Like if you was in Florida during certain times, you was a player in that game. Mississippi during the mid 1800s was where you needed to be with land to be anybody, right? Cotton production in Mississippi exploded from nothing in 1800 to 535 million pounds in 1859. Alabama ranked second with 400 million pounds. So Mississippi was producing around 100 million more pounds than the next state, the second state on the list. That's craziness, right? And if you look at this chart here, right here, the enslaved population passed the white population by 1840. So just think about that. And really, that's probably, you never know how many people they wasn't actually counting either, right? So it's probably a whole bunch of people. They show free colored here, but you never know. You know what I'm saying? You never know. That was up to the slave owners' ability to keep good records. Okay. And then Mississippi's cotton production, it was zero in 1800, and then 535 million pounds by 1859. Mississippi and its neighbors, Alabama, western Georgia, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Texas, provided the cheap land and was suitable for cotton production. Cotton provoked a gold rush by attracting thousands of white men from the North and other slave states along the Atlantic coast who came to make a quick fortune. Enslaved people who were transported in a massive forced migration over land and by sea from the older slave states to the newer cotton states. In 1850, 25% of the population of New Orleans, Louisiana was from the North, and 10% of the population of Mobile, Alabama was former New Yorkers. Mississippi attracted investors as well as residents. Auctions of cheap Indian lands as a result of secession of land by the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations drew bidders from the South and East. For example, in the 1830s, the largest purchasers of Chickasaw land in Mississippi were the American Land Company and the New York Land Company. The two companies presented investors or speculators from New York, Boston, and other New Englanders. New York City, not just southern cities, was essential to the cotton world. By 1860, New York had become the capital of the South. New York became the capital of the South because of its dominant role in the cotton trade. New York rose to the preeminent position as the commercial and financial center of America because of cotton. Think about this craziness. It has been estimated that New York received 40% of all cotton revenue since the city supplied insurance, shipping, and financing services, and New York merchants sold goods to Southern planters. The trade with the South, which has been estimated $200 million annually, was an impressive sum at that time. Think about this. This is something that I don't hear often, right? Is that New York became the financial center of America because of what was going on in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. Like, you don't hear about that often. You know what I'm saying? What they talk about with New York is, they was up there with the banks and they was up there financing slavery. That's where New York made all their money, because they financed slavery. So y'all New Yorkers, be easy when y'all talk about how, y'all brag about all the money that's in New York. All the money that New York is built off of slave labor and ensuring slave sales. Nothing cool about that. Complicity of white America. Most New Yorkers did not care that the cotton was produced by enslaved people, because for them, it became sanitized once it left the plantation. New Yorkers even dominated a booming slave trade in the 1850s. Although the importation of enslaved Africans into the United States had been prohibited since 1808, the temptation of the astronomical profits of the international slave trade was too strong for many New Yorkers. New York investors financed New York-based slave ships that sailed to West Africa to pick up African captives that were then sold to Cuba and Brazil. In addition to dominating the slave trade, New York denied voting rights to a small free black population, which comprised only of 1% of the population. New York accomplished this by imposing property ownership requirements for its free black residents, while white New Yorkers had no such restrictions. New York's poor black population was effectively disenfranchised in 1857. 75% of Connecticut's voters elected to deny suffrage to African Americans, and even after the Civil War, voters were then again denied black male residents the right to vote. Some western states such as Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois tried to exclude African Americans. At the same time, they were aggressively recruiting millions of white European immigrants. White America, not just white Southerners, helped determine that the destiny of black America would be in the cotton fields of the South for many decades to come. On the eve of the Civil War, cotton provided the economic underpinnings of the Southern economy. Cotton gave the South power, both real and imagined. Cotton dictated the South's huge role in the global economy that included Europe, New York, and other New England states and the American West. The economic growth exacted a severe and tragic human price through slavery and the prejudicial treatment of free black people. Mississippi was, therefore, both a captive of the cotton world and a major player in the 19th century global economy. This is written by Eugene Dattle, a Mississippi native and economic historian, is a former international investment banker. So he from Mississippi, and he was an investment banker. So he did his history on New York. He did his history on Europe. He did his history on Mississippi, the United States. He knows what he's talking about here, and he's backing it up with the facts and figures. Okay. Now, hold on. Now, what am I saying here? I'm saying here, one thing that we know for sure, right? Excuse me, is that black people had our land stolen from us in mass numbers over the last 100 years, right? It was stolen. We know it was stolen. But it wasn't always stolen though, right? We know a lot of it was stolen, but we know it wasn't always stolen. All right? Let me pull up some facts and figures. All right? I love facts and figures. Let's pull up some facts and figures. Okay. There are approximately 6,000 cotton farming businesses in the U.S. as of early 2024-25. Though the exact number fluctuates with the sources like this, showing around 6,000 businesses and projections. Okay, the number of businesses, 6,000 in the U.S. Okay, cotton farming, that's Texas, Georgia, Mississippi, Arkansas. There's about 11.67 million acres of cotton land, right? Let's go to another piece here. There are very few black-owned cotton farms in the U.S., with recent data from 2022 indicating only around 150 black farmers were producing cotton, a significant decline from previous years, highlighting an extinction-level trend for black cotton farming. These farmers are part of a much larger story of black land loss, with less than 1% of U.S. cotton farms currently black-owned, facing systemic challenges despite efforts by some farmers to reclaim legacy. Do y'all hear what they're calling this extinction level? That means black people once dominant in cotton production, even if we didn't own the fields we didn't own all of the fields. The way that we have been wiped out of it is extinction level. This is what they're calling it, because this is a many billion-dollar industry. Right? Many billions of dollars industry every year, and it's growing. Right? They're saying black Americans have essentially been extinct from the industry. Have y'all ever heard that before? Normally when they talk about black people, they're like, yo, we need to get in this thing. We haven't been in it. We never been in it. There's no black ownership, blah, blah, blah. But black people did have ownership in this industry, and we have been extinct. Extinction level event. That's what they call this. Have y'all ever heard anybody say that in business before? I ain't never heard that before in business, because we talking about business here. History, I gave the history just to give you the history, because I want everybody to know. But now we talking about the business right now, and black people are facing an extinction level event. 6,000 farms, 150 black owned. Let's do the numbers on that real quick, because that is a low percentage, right? Let me do it, because I don't want to break my brain. That is that's 0.2%. I mean, that's 2%. Wait, hold on. Right? 2% is nasty. It's unacceptable. 2% is unacceptable. It's just not right. It's just not okay. I want us to not see, because you got to think. I want us the reason so many people, because black farmers need our help, right? And sometimes the only help we can really give them is to be loud and vocal. I've been doing episodes about black farmers and how they've been having their land stolen and how they have been not getting money from the USDA for years. Ever since this podcast has been, before it was in video, when it was just audio, I've been trying to, you know what I'm saying, but it's not a big platform. We need more people. If you hear this, the black farmers need our help. You understand? There's a Black Farmers Association. They need our help because not only are white landowners trying to do different tactics and steal black-owned farms, the government is not protecting them from this. Even when they report what's going on, then the government is not helping fund. They're helping give loans to white farmers that they're not giving to black farmers. When they give out grants and things like that, they're not giving them to black farmers. They pull different things like this. We had a bunch of our land stolen. So then what they'll do is say, well, these grants are only for farmers that own more acres than XYZ. Let's just say these are only for farms that have more than 500 acres, knowing that they done stole all the 500-acre farms from black people. So now it's like, oh, well, hey, sorry, this is not a racial thing. It's only for people that own 500 acres or more. Right? That's the type of stuff that they're doing to black farmers. Right? And they don't have anybody speaking up for them. Nobody in the mainstream even knows that this is going on. But there's only 150 black-owned cotton farms left in an industry that is built off of black labor. And all we're doing is running from cotton. We are running from textiles. We're running from cotton production. We're running from cotton plantations because we don't like the association to white people that made us work, because our memory is still there, right? Even though it's deep, deep, deep in the DNA, the memory of working plantations is still in us. We can feel it still. But we got to disassociate cotton from white people. They are not the same thing. They don't go together. And our black farmers are in an extinction level event. They need help. They need help. 11 million pounds of cotton being produced, y'all. See, I said it was 150 cotton farms. We don't even know what the production. Let me see if I can find what the production of those 150 farms. Oh, let me see if I can find. Oh, another thing. Small farms. Black farmers often operate smaller farms with over half being under 50 acres, making them less eligible for large subsidies tied to acreage. That's what I was telling you about the grants and stuff. If there's only 150 black-owned farms for cotton farms, right? And more than half of them, so that's over 75, are under 50 acres. That is not anywhere near enough land to be viable in the cotton market. Essentially, we black farmers in this cotton space are the BlackBerry, while Apple and Android are fighting for all the space. Right? We are the BlackBerry of the cotton industry right now. And it is sick and sad because literally, if you had to put a face on cotton production, even to this day, nobody knows anybody else who works in cotton fields. They only remember us from the cotton fields. We don't even know who's working in these fields now. We can guess. Illegal immigrants probably work in the fields now. That's the reason we don't know who's working them, because they're not showing them. I seen a video where they had a bunch of black people that didn't speak English working in them cotton fields. Somebody rode up on them. Somebody pulled their camera out and said, yo, they got black people out here picking cotton. Those people didn't speak English. There was a bunch of black people out there. And those black people wasn't allowed to talk to the people with the camera. Right? The man left. He went and got some like fruit and water or something like that, brought it back to the people. But they couldn't talk to him. They wouldn't talk to him and they didn't speak English. That's happening right now. I seen this video a couple months ago. You understand? Black American man seen black people picking cotton and was alarmed by it. And there was 2 trucks out at the field supervising them. And when he walked up on them, when he walked up on the workers with the cameras and stuff, the two trucks pulled off. Right? So the cotton trade has always been dark. Not always, But because of the way it started in America, it's a dark thing. But we can't let them push black people out. It's a wrap. But well, they have already done it, but we got to figure out how to help. Right? All right, that's all I got for y'all, man. Excuse me, my voice is cracking. I'm tired. You know, got more work to do. All this type of stuff. Please make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you learned something today, please make sure you tell a friend and tell a friend. Share the video. Comment your thoughts below. Everything like that. Man, that's all I got for y'all, man. Y'all have a good evening, weekend, morning, night, all that. Easy.